In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a mini album that does not use a hinge. We'll be using L pages. So let's make a mini album. Okay, let's make a mini album. I have 2 pieces of chipboard. It's medium weight. You could use medium or heavy weight. It is 8.5 by 7.5. I'm using 4-inch double-sided permanent adhesive. I have 6-inch, but for this size, it'll work better with the 4. I'm going to just put that down and add my chipboard. And then, whoops, this is not cut yet. Let me cut this 2.5 by 8.5 for the spine. So I'm going to just add it here. It's no stress. I mean, if you don't get the double-sided adhesive on perfectly, not a big deal. This is the easy part. This is the fun part. It's all fun. All right, I'm going to take this and put this up at the top. And then I'll cut this off. All right, that's it for this. You can get these rolls. They're actually on sale probably as we speak, but double check my link to see if they're on sale. Now I have a different brand. This is the Suk Wang brand. This is the True Score Tape brand. I have heard that it's all made by the same company. I don't know if that's true or not. But the scrapbook.com brand works for me. Now, if you don't want to pay for those rolls, you can buy, as I said in the beginning, the prequel to this, you can get these sheets that are 8.5 by 11, and you could use those. You would need 2 for this mini album. Or you could just use glue, and I've used glue for years, so that works just as well. I do like to cut on this instead of my glass surface. This glass surface is sort of new to me, and I like it. It's nice and clean, and it helps with the lighting. Okay, now I'm going to take it. So this is 10.5 by 9.5. I know I cut off this corner, but ultimately it's not going to make a big deal. And I do have these spacers from Country Craft Creations. These are 1-inch by 12-inch spacers. It comes in a set with another one that is 1.5 inches by 12. And that one I'll use in just a second. So I'm going to peel off the backing of my double-sided permanent adhesive. And then I'll make sure again my paper is up to the side and the top, and so are my spacers. Go up to the side and the top and put this down. Take my bone folder and burnish it. I'm going to let that sit for a bit while I work on the other one. Where did I put the, here it is. So again, I'll use my spacers. I enjoy making the covers. I mean, I enjoy it all. I like the challenge of decorating it. I feel like it's fun because you get to use different color theories, you get to use different design ideas, and you get to have fun with pretty paper. Okay, so this is good. I'll go ahead and burnish it. And while I'm here, I'll go ahead and take, this piece is 10.5 by 5.5 because my spine piece is 2.5. I added 1.5 inches on each side. And since I have 1.5 inches on each side, I'll grab my other spacer that was part of the set. So that is 1.5 inches because we treat the spine piece a little bit differently. This is the lay flat cover method designed by Tamara Merrill of Country Craft Creations. I'll use this or either the flat cover, I don't know what you would call it, the old version method, interchangeably. It depends on how I'm going to decorate it. I'll put that aside for a second. Okay, so let's go back to the covers. So I'm taking my bone folder and going up against the edge here. Then I will use my surface and burner. And here and burnish. The one thing about the glass mat is it does make a lot of noise. I hear it, but I feel like because it's such a hard surface as opposed to using a mat that you can cut into. I don't know. I just feel like you probably get a crisper burnish. Don't know if that's true or not, but I'll believe it. All right, I'm cutting off all 4 of these corners. Then I'll grab my other scissors. So these are my long blade scissors, and I'll put the top blade against my chipboard and just cut off whatever overhang is going to be on there. Turn it over so the chipboard side is facing up and do the same. See how it juts out? If you cut this off, you don't have to worry about having overhang when you're trying to burnish everything down, which is what I'm going to do right now. So I start on the long sides. I'll take some glue and go right up against the edge of the chipboard around the perimeter of the cardstock, zigzag, and then push this up against the chipboard, and then I use my fingers on one hand to pull it down and burnish. Now, I don't know if you saw all that glue that came out. I'm just going to leave it. Do it again, right up against the chipboard around the perimeter. Yep. Zigzag. Now, you could use double-sided adhesive here in addition to the glue, or just double-sided adhesive. Doesn't matter. This is not going to go anywhere. All right, and I'll go ahead and so there was that excess glue. It's just going to stay there and help hold my cardstock onto my chipboard. All right, now here it's seeping out. So this is when I will wipe it up. And do this one. Burnish. I really do love making mini albums, and I enjoy the process. I like to take my bone folder and go along the top. Feel like it finishes it. If I don't do it, I've always felt like I've missed a step. Okay, go like this. How long does it take me to make a mini album base? 56 minutes. I don't know, because it depends on how many pages, which way I'm making it. If I need to refill my glue, you know, all that. I just go against the edge and then fold this down and burnish. But I'll turn on the radio or something like that and do it. Now it's morning where I am, and so I hear the birds. Besides me talking, I hear the birds. So it's an enjoyable morning. So just cut right on the line. And there we go. And then I'll go ahead and cut to avoid any overhang. I've done it without doing this step. Not critical. I mean, if you do get a little overhang, if you're going to use the glue, you just work it with the glue. Just push it down and make sure that it just is adhered real well. So here, I'm going to do two sides at once, adding the glue. Sort of saves you a step, a motion by picking up and putting down the glue. You know, people who do time studies study things like that. Enjoy the process, though. That's what I say. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the fact that you're taking raw materials and making something beautiful out of it. If it doesn't come out perfect, well, you know what? It's man-made. It's okay if one page is off by a 1/16 of an inch. It's okay if, I don't know. It's just okay. It's all handmade, and it's an art form, and art is not perfect. All right, so we've got those, and then I'll do my, whoops, finishing touch. Okay, we've got our two covers. Now the spine is done a little differently. We start the same. We find the edge of the chipboard with our bone folder. And I like to use my surface to burn it. I've seen different designers do it different ways. I've seen ones that just add glue and then push it down here. And in fact, I'll do it that way for one, and I'll do it differently for the second part. So you add glue here, and then add glue on this part. I'm going to add a little glue here on the side. Not much, but some. Then I'll take this and work it so the chipboard edge has glue on it. I'm just working the part with the chipboard. And then I'll take my bone folder and making sure that the edge, I don't want any of this glue to get on my bone folder, that the edge of the chipboard is covered with paper. Just work it real intentionally, and then I'll work this, and some glue came out onto my surface, no big deal. But you can see it sort of juts in, and you don't see this edge. It's off a little bit. I hit autofocus. So you can see this piece doesn't quite match up with that because it's gone into here. Do the same with this. I saw some glue coming out. And there we go. Now, the other way to do it is, so you know how on our covers we had squares we cut out? Well, here we have rectangles we cut out. So we cut off these little corners. And cut off the overhang. Add glue here and around this, what is now a trapezoid. burnish that. I pull it down with my fingers and used a lot of glue there. Didn't need that much glue. And just work that. And then I'll just further make sure there's no glue on my bone folder. Burnish there. Okay, now I'm going to take my scoreboard again. I'm going to take one of my spacers. I'm going to take a little bit of double-sided permanent adhesive and add it onto this flap. I'm not going all the way to the edge. You really don't need it, but I always feel that when you put down two kinds of adhesive, like the score tape and the liquid adhesive, the score tape will hold while the liquid adhesive dries. So you'll get a good stick. I'm also going to add liquid adhesive around the edge here, but I'm not going to come close to this part. I'm going to take my spacer, put it about 1/8 of an inch away from the spine. You can see it because this spacer is transparent. And just do a bead of glue and put glue up to that line. I don't like covering my score tape, my double-sided permanent adhesive, with my glue. I feel like you're putting glue onto plastic, and I just don't feel like it holds. Now, I could be wrong, and you do it the way you want to do it. Okay, take this, push it up against the side and to the top, and then I'll put my front cover or back cover, it could be upside down, with about a 1/16 of an inch gap between the two. And then I'll burnish and then turn it upside down and burnish real well. Okay, now we'll do it this way and do the other one. So I'll take my little spacer, that just gets a nice straight line because I can't draw straight lines to save my life. You can draw a straight line, you don't need spacer. You could use, if you wanted to, just a piece of chipboard, a ruler, whatever you got. Okay, do the same with the other cover. Now at this point, the scoreboard won't fit it all, so I've got some of it coming off. But again, I'll leave a little space and burnish. And turn it over and burnish. Okay. So now, last thing I want to do is add a piece of cardstock on the top just to cover everything. Now, you also could put decorative paper on it. Let me get this cardstock on here. So I'm not going to go close to the edge. I'm about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge, but I'm adding glue here to the spine. And I'll put some along the edge here. I'm not putting it actually in that crevice where the pieces meet. And then I will take this and go around the perimeter. Now I'm working fairly quickly because I don't want the glue to dry. So I'll go right to the bottom here. This piece, so you want this piece to be, it's about 6 inches by 8.5. I actually cut it down. It's not quite 8.5. It's closer to 8 and 15/16. Now I'm going to burnish this carefully at first, and then I'm pushing down even more to get that glue to distribute. It's almost coming out the top. Move my scoreboard because I don't need it anymore. All right. I don't think you can burnish this too much. You want to make sure that this is adhered real well because everything's going to sit on top of this. But at this point, you can let it dry. I won't fold up these pages until it's all dry, and then I'll work this crevice again. But you also could, so this is 2.5 by 8. You could add a piece of decorative paper that's 2 3/8 by 7 7/8 and cover this if you want. All right, you'll need 6 pieces that are 7 3/4 by 8 for the pages. So with the 7 3/4 inside at the top of your scoreboard, score at 1/2 inch and then score at 3/4. Finish on these scores real well. You will be adhering this 1/2 inch tab to the inside spine. The 1/4 inch gusset just allows for some more movement. You can cover that if you want to. I tend to leave it uncovered, but if you want to, you can. Now I'll burnish. On both of those score lines. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing is adding this to the pages. We're going to add 3 coming from 1/4 inch away from our where the spine meets the front page, and 3 going the other direction. So the first 3, well, we'll do 1 on each side. I'll show you. We'll add glue to this. I'll show you. So add glue. You want to be generous, but you don't want it seeping out. I'm using this little thing because it puts a lot of glue down at once fairly quickly. Now, if you need to draw a line, you could use something like a T-square. And a pencil. I'm about 1/4 inch away. Really not liking how this T-square is going. We'll do one over on this side too. All right, so I'll take this and making sure that it's about 1/4 inch on the top and bottom. So you can see 1/4 inch of the cover. And then I'll burnish. So now we'll do the same with the other side. So I've already done these, they haven't burnished them. So I will do one from the back side, the right side. I'm just covering my pencil line. I'm making sure it's parallel to my cover, making sure it's parallel to the bottom and top, and making sure it matches up with this. If anything is wrong, then something is funky for some reason. And you have the option of either doing it again or just living with it. I would personally, if it's not off by much, just live with it. Once you've decorated the book, nobody will notice if it's off by 32nd of an inch. But if something like that's going to bother you, if it's going to bother you, then do it again. It wouldn't bother me. Alrighty. So this one I'm going to put almost jutted up against it. Now, most people do jut it up against that, but then my spine would have to be 3 inches, and I don't want it to be exactly 3 inches. I just feel like that's really big. Now you saw it took me a little bit to make sure it was down perfectly even. So that's 2. So why is there 2 score lines? We have the 1/2 inch, and then we have the 3/4 inch score line. That extra 1/4 inch sort of allows for a little bit of extra movement. My friend Michelle from Creative Operation calls it give space. I'll burnish. All right, so now we have room for 2 more. So now you can take a look and see how much is going to need to overlap. So I've got 1/2 an inch and then the little channel between the two. It looks like about 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to do another one. So it turns out that these two are butted up against each other, and that's fine. If that's how it ended up, that's okay. So this one I'm going to overlap where these two meet. So there will be a little more than 1/2 an inch on this one. So the centerpiece will have a little more space than all the other ones, but that's okay. Again, nobody's going to notice. But if you end up covering, some people like to cover this spine piece. If you do end up covering it, you'll have to pay attention to the measurements when you do that. All right, so we have page 1, 2, 3, 4. So this holds 5 and 6. So there we go. there is how we put the pages in, not using the Hinge system for a mini album. The next video will show you how to add the elements to the pages.